Hello, everyone, and welcome to another AHIF, the Africa Hotel Investment Forum podcast, the podcast that reunites the hotel investment community for the Africa continent. I'm here today with Ramsay Rankoussi, the Vice President of Development for Africa and Turkey for Radisson. Welcome, Ramsay.
Hi, thank you, Matt. How was everything?
A pleasure to see you. So, Ramsay, where are you today? You look like you're somewhere really sunny and warm.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty rainy today. I'm actually in Brussels, which is the head office of Radisson. But yeah, it's a nice wallpaper that can, trick you in believing I'm actually sitting in a lobby.
Well, it looks as if you're in the wonderful Radisson Red there in Cape Town and enjoying the summer. But so, Ramsay, just, there's a lot of talk at the moment with how the couple of years have been. But I read recently that Radisson have actually had a very productive year in Africa. Why don't you sort of explain where you are as a brand on the continent and your sort of outlook over the next couple of years?
Sure, thank you, Matt. Look, I think obviously 2021 was still an unknown when we started, and I don't think any of us, not even me, was expecting to close in terms of Radisson what we've done this year. I mean, this year was certainly a record year for Radisson, and I think that was regionally EMEA, but also in Africa itself. I mean, today, roughly, we have 100 hotels in operation and under development in Africa, but of which this year only 15 hotels were signed. Roughly, 2,500 hotels rooms were also added in the portfolio. Key milestones for us were 70% of that were actually conversion. So that shows you really, truly, kind of a trend of people looking for, improvement, looking for, support of core brands. And I think we've been extremely successful in doing that. Some of the market for us that have been really a strong pick has been one, Morocco. I think Morocco for us was really one of the focus that we decided entering this year and improving. And we moved from, 2 hotels this year to 11 hotels at the end of the year. That shows you kind of a rapid acceleration, of which one of them was a portfolio transaction. And then we start seeing activity, obviously, West Africa, South Africa. But I think what we need to look at it is that the sentiment in Sub-Saharan Africa is still, more sensitive towards COVID and the environment of itself. So there is less liquidity. So there was been probably less transaction. But I think as we move forward and come out of COVID, we'll certainly see an acceleration. I think for us, what we're trying to establish now is closer proximity to the market, closer proximity to some of the existing owners, but also, local, regional chains, seeing how we can create new synergies. That's one of the reasons we have launched, Radisson Individuals as kind of a co-branding exercise that we do with local hotels. And I think that's probably what we'll maintain for 2022. So 2022 for us is probably a similar trend. So I think we would still look at roughly 2,000 rooms in addition in the portfolio. We still have a lot of openings. So this year we opened 5 hotels. Of which, some of them were resorts. And I think we will still see some trend of resort offerings. Next year, we're entering new markets. We're entering into Reunion Island. We're entering into Madagascar. We're entering in South Sudan. So that is cementing the leadership of Radisson as one of the most diverse company in the most countries in Africa. And I think this is something.
How many countries are you now got?
So we'll be adding at 34 countries out of the 54 in the continent. So today is really one of the most diverse presence. Yeah. I think, obviously there are some countries that are still opportunities for us to enter and we need to see the relevance of it. But what we're trying to create today is kind of a critical mass in every region from east to west to south to north and reinforcing our, presence across all the brands, but also reinforcing our presence commercially and operationally now. So we obviously have an office in Cape Town. We have a district presence now in East Africa and Kigali, the same in West. And Casablanca is becoming kind of a hub also as a result of all the transaction we've done.
So you talk about, obviously, I read there and you obviously mentioned that a large majority of your portfolio has been this year conversions. Mm-hmm. What would you say then is Radisson's, I guess, USP above and beyond the competitors in this space?
Look, I think when you look at conversion, obviously time is of essence, right? I mean, what any owners would like to see is minimize the time between, moving from one brand to another or from moving from independently being run into a core brand. So, and usually what tends to happen is that there is a lot of time of efforts of an improvement plan, being from a technical part of renovation, and that can delay things, and also the operational matters in terms of service training. Well, at Radisson, what we believe to do is we are very pragmatic in the approach of finding solutions, very tailor-made solutions. So what we do is we look at, obviously, the prerequisite of any conversion would be fire life and safety, especially in Africa. And those are the things that we look forward quickly. But then operationally, we're able to mobilize the team quite fast. If we look at the transaction we did, in Morocco, as I told you, I think in a space of less than 2 months, we were able to take over the property. And I think our report was, 3 weeks in another country, actually in Dakar. So that shows you kind of the ability for us. Then we obviously try to phase out, especially when you look at current market environment. I think renovation needs to be phased out. It's not really reasonable to ask too much. So we try to phase out while maintaining, obviously, consistency across the brand and the product.
You are optimistic, obviously, for the continent and the brand. What now for focus and strategy moving forward? What's your ambitions with the brands? Where are you sort of going to next? What are you looking for?
Yeah, right. So last year in 2020, I decided to create, obviously, a new transition. At the moment, I took over the role and I created a new strategy for Africa, which puts an ambition of 150 hotels by 2025, and that will be both in operation and under development. Obviously, there are a few key focus countries that we have. I mean, namely is Egypt, Morocco on the north, where you can see scale moving forward. In the west, I think Nigeria has a strong potential, but there is obviously a burden on development costs, which is probably one of the highest. If we still remain in West Africa, I think economies in Senegal, Ivory Coast, but also Cameroon are relevant to us. And what we've discovered this year is Ghana has a very strong potential. We're starting to look at Ghana as really an economy and a country which is doing a strong reform and strong improvement in its quality of infrastructure and ease of doing business. East Africa has been probably the most impacted, especially if you look recently in some of the events in Ethiopia, which used to be kind of a leading representation in East. So I think for us, we would want to enter in Tanzania. Tanzania, we still don't have presence yet. So this is one of the focus countries for us to enter. And then, Sub-Saharan Africa, I think South Africa remain, key of the focus country for us. We have, 15 hotels in South Africa, and I think we would certainly like to have 25 hotels by 2025. And I think that will come mostly in conversion and in close proximity, and that because of the environment of lending today, increased inflation, increased cost of debt, still remain a challenge in Africa, especially as I mentioned earlier on in Sub-Saharan Africa. But one trend that, Radisson was not known for, and I think we're shifting, and that remains part of the strategy, is the leisure demand and the growth of leisure demand. And that is to capture, obviously, domestic demand too, but intra-regional. And I think, we have a strong presence today in Indian Ocean, but I think we want to reinforce that. We have a property upcoming in Victoria Falls that we have actually signed this year and already opening next year as a Radisson Blu. As I mentioned to you, we're opening in Madagascar. I think we will want to certainly enhance our presence in Mauritius. Yeah. Those are kind of, a trend that we see, and I think where Radisson Blu will expand on his resort offerings.
Yeah, I was going to ask, actually, has that plan changed because of COVID? I noticed that you've obviously moved into some apart hotel products and so on. And with that in mind, the MICE aspect of the Radisson brand has always been really strong. We're obviously looking to bring back the Africa Hotel Investment Forum to the Radisson. Ali, thank you very much for supporting us there, Ramsay, in October next year. We're obviously very keen as an event organizer to see the MICE industry come back. But what's your take on this? Are we going to go back to the normal? Are you having to change your strategy to more leisure apart hotel? Do you see the MICE industry bouncing back? What's your take on it as an operator?
Look, without a doubt, I think there has been so many, questions and discussion around where MICE will come. Look, MICE is still the main business catalyst in Africa. I think, probably over 70% of business demand is linked to exhibition, conference, and local business meetings. So I think that will always remain, and that is strategic for Africa itself. So for us, we remain obviously confident. Yourself as an organizer and us as a company have, been able to manage both virtual and physical events and make combination. And I think that will eventually remain. And I think people will want to take the advantage, of remotely attending some conference and probably being more selective. But I certainly believe the world of conference will return, and it's already returning. And if you look at it today, there are already massive exhibitions that have been, implemented elsewhere. I mean, we always speak about Dubai, where I'm usually based, has been an example of hosting massive event. Again, today you have the Expo, but you have so many different exhibitions happening and elsewhere again. So it's only a matter of patience and time, patience in terms of, vaccination rate, ease of traveling, ease of access. But overall, yes, we remain, confident that in our business model, still 70% of our properties moving forward will still remain in the business segmentation, capital cities, urban hotels from 4 to 5 star, even below. But again, the MICE segment will remain part of the whole technical design of a property. What shifted slightly the acceleration of trend that we've seen because of COVID is, as you mentioned, service apartment. Service apartment has been extremely resilient as a business segment, which we are now obviously continuing to leverage on. And I think key Africa cities have the potential to have standalone service apartment. That we do. And then leisure. Leisure is that I think Radisson was never really perceived as a resort or leisure brand, which, as you arguably it's true with the current portfolio that we have. But as we move forward, we will start, diversifying the portfolio under the Radisson brand in the leisure offerings.
Well, it all sounds pretty exciting for you moving forward, and we're obviously delighted to be back hosting conferences in Africa for Africa in 2022 with a fair wind, more activity for the market there if we can get everyone together as well. Ramsay, I'd just like to say thanks again for joining us today. Thanks again for supporting us over the years, and look forward to seeing you in 22.
It's our pleasure, and we're certainly privileged to event. And as I say, I think every one of us, all of us, are extremely impatient to connect again and physically meet. And COVID impact will obviously be changed, I hope, and then we'll all be together. So thank you again, Matt, for with us and trusting Radisson.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Ramsay.